What's up, everybody? I am Wyatt, and welcome to Cinema Trip Reviews. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to go check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Cinema Trip Views. Also, wherever you get your podcasts, pretty much available everywhere. Drop in and leave us a good review. Today on the show, I'm going to be talking about The Flash, which released over the weekend. I got the chance to go out and check it out. Fortunately, nobody was able to go out and check it out, so I'm doing a solo dolo review here for you this week. I did have another video originally planned for this week, but it went on a little too long, so I have to have some extra time to go and edit it. That'll be out next week. Stick around for the end of the video, and you'll get the announcement of what video that will be. This week, I am talking about The Flash, which released over the weekend, directed by Andres Muschietti. He did direct, I believe, It and It Part 2, and I also believe he directed that horror film Mama. I haven't seen that one. I did see the It movies, but I did not see Mama. And I believe he actually just got announced to be directing the Batman Brave and the Bold movie, which will be coming out as part of James Gunn's DC universe. Because with this Flash movie, this is kind of pretty much closing the book on the Snyderverse for the DCEU. And I'm not going to go into full spoilers. Half the review will probably be non-spoiler. The other half, the back half, I will be going into some spoilery stuff that we're going to have to talk about. But this does, in fact, close the book on the Snyderverse and some of these characters within the Snyderverse. And it also could explain how maybe some of them could be going forward within James Gunn's DCU as well. Going into the movie, I was very just kind of mixed. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't have high hopes, really, just based off of a lot of the trailers. The CG looked very just bad and cartoony. It seemed like they were only just kind of throwing Michael Keaton in there just to get people to go and see the movie, just because of all the bullshit that Ezra Miller was causing, a while ago, which is still ongoing. Nobody knows if Ezra Miller is still going to be going through the DCEU or not. They're kind of waiting to see what happens with this movie and the reception to kind of go forward with that. My expectation is they're not going to be going forward with Ezra Miller as the Flash, just because of all the multiverse stuff and because of all the bullshit that they have caused throughout the past year or so. You don't really need that distraction going into a new era of DC films. You don't really want that, kind of that being the talk going into some of these movies instead of the movies themselves. And I just thought that they were just kind of shoehorning Michael Keaton in there, just for people just to see Batman 89, that Batman one more time. They put him in all the marketing, all the trailers, they really trying to pump up that Michael Keaton Batman machine so people would go out and see the movie. And to be honest, it's one of the main reasons I went and saw the movie. I fucking love Batman, and Michael Keaton is one of the greatest Batmans of all time. So, of course, I want to go see it because of Michael Keaton. But I was pleasantly surprised. I went in very mixed, not knowing really what to expect. But I actually went out really kind of enjoying the movie. Michael Keaton doesn't play as big of a part in the film as they want you to, as it appears in the trailers and the marketing and stuff, as they want you to believe. The movie is very much based around Barry Allen and Ezra Miller's The Flash. And all the bullshit that Ezra Miller has done aside, just looking at the movie itself, Ezra Miller did a great job. I think if Ezra wouldn't have went out and caused all the trouble that they have caused, I would have loved to see Ezra Miller going forward as the Flash. I really like their interpretation of the Flash. I like that character, and I would like to see that going forward, but unfortunately with everything that's going on, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But within the movie, just a self-contained movie, I think they do a very good job playing, today's version of Barry Allen and a 2013 version of Barry Allen. So there's two different Barrys that are going on through the whole movie here. And they both have their own unique personalities and quirks and such. And I got to say, young Barry is annoying for the most part of the movie until they kind of come into their own and start to grow up a little bit and decide to help out and, go forward with the rest of the movie. But I would say through a majority, like half of the movie, that Barry is super annoying. Just that stoner giggle that he has, it's very annoying, very quick. But I did like the banter and the witty stuff going back and forth between them. With superhero movies, I'm very hit or miss with them, and especially the comedy, where they trying to insert some of the comedy into some superheroes. Like with Marvel, that comedy that they try to play off is very cringy. It doesn't work nearly as well. I enjoyed the comedy for the most part in this. Of course, there are some misses throughout, or you just kind of roll your eyes. But for the most part, I actually enjoyed it. It's very like smart ass comedy. It does have its misses, but for the most part, I enjoyed it. The movie, even though it's like 2.5 hours, I thought was very fast paced. It went by very quickly. There wasn't really any moments of just kind of there wasn't really any lulls throughout. I wasn't sitting there just like looking at my watch, like, all right, come on, let's get this going. I was genuinely invested throughout the whole film and what's going to be transpiring throughout. Now, I did have a couple issues with it, which one is everybody's talking about as of right now is the CG. There are moments that the CG looks absolutely amazing in this film. It looks great, but there are a lot more moments where the CG looks very bad. Specifically, when Barry finds out that he's able to run so fast that he can kind of go back and pick a certain point of time where he can kind of start out and kind of change the events, or he can go back even farther, which sets the events of the movie going forward. In those little pockets where he runs back in time and you kind of get to see time circulating around him, it's very messy. There's so much going on. It takes a while in the movie to kind of figure out what's going on and how it works. There are some confusing aspects of it, especially kind of going towards the end, but specifically those sequences where he's running kind of within time, where the CG just doesn't look great, and it shows like a ton of different character models in CG, and they look very like early 2000s, late 2000s, like video game CGI type character models. They don't look great at all. And later in the film, as everybody knows, through the trailers, General Zod comes back. Michael Shannon comes back as General Zod. They do have like the fight sequences in the middle of that desert area with Zod and everything as you've seen in Man of Steel. A lot of those, like kind of the background, it's very, you can tell it's very green screen, very CG heavy. It doesn't look great at times. Some it does, but most of the time it doesn't look great. But I mean, this is just the world we're living in as of right now. As far as superhero movies, everything, a majority of it is going to be CGI, so you're gonna have to kind of learn to live with it. But it's a very mixed bag as far as the CG. Some of it does look great, but a majority of it doesn't. The story itself, Barry, his mother died years ago when he was a kid. His father got blamed for it, and he's in jail. They do have like a appeals court and stuff they try to go through, but there's not enough evidence for him to, get released or anything. There's not enough evidence to say that he was at the store doing what he was doing. Barry finds out that he is able to run fast enough and go back in time. He accidentally finds out he can run back and, insert himself in a point in time and possibly change events. So he's like, oh, what if I actually ran so far back that I could change the events and possibly bring my mother back? And that's what sets, the whole point of the movie is him going back, and it ends up fucking so much stuff up. It's the butterfly effect. Just touching one thing can change the course of history, going forward. That's why he has to enlist the help of, that universe's Batman, Michael Keaton. That's where Michael Keaton comes into play. He's not, like I mentioned, he's not a drawing force throughout the whole movie. He's not there for a whole movie. He's maybe in it for like a quarter of the movie. That's also where Supergirl comes into play, because instead of Kal-El, Superman falling to Earth, Supergirl did, and Supergirl was played by Sasha Calle, and she was great in the movie. I think she's great. I mean, I think there's news I saw today about she's already in talks with, DC and Warner Brothers, possibly maybe get a Supergirl movie up and running, which based off her performance in this one, it would be awesome to see her come back and play Supergirl going forward, because she was great. And there's also some other cameos in there I'm not going to get into as of right now, but it's definitely it's beneficial to go into the movie not knowing some of these cameos, because it helps with that surprise a little bit more. Unfortunately, I did get spoiled on some of the cameos before going in, so the whole time I'm like, okay, how are these cameos gonna play into the story somehow? But it's interesting how they do, and once you see it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The Flash has to work with Batman and also with Supergirl to try to fix everything that he's broken within the multiverse and everything. My real issue with the story itself, they introduced the big bad, the villain of the movie, way too late. Way too late. They literally introduced him, like the big bad, like the last half hour of the movie, way too late for you to really care about it at all or care about what's happening. The only thing you really care about through the course of the movie is, okay, Barry fucked up the multiverse. How is he going to fix it? How are everybody that he enlists to help him going to help him fix it? And it goes from there. It does have some decent action sequences in it. It has some very creative fight sequences. It was awesome to see Michael Keaton's Batman, out there kicking ass once again, and even more fluid as ever. He can actually turn his head. He can actually move without looking so stiff. Not a huge fan of the bat suit they gave him. It looks very like plasticky, and it doesn't look very modern really at all to me. But I mean, it was great seeing the bat suit back in effect with Keaton in it, and actually get to see him doing a lot of the crazy fight scenes that you didn't get to see him do back in the day in that stiff rubber suit. You actually get to see him do a lot more and kick a lot more ass. The Flash, he does have some fight scenes. It has a lot of cool different, variations, because, I mean, it's a Flash movie. You want to see the Flash going out there and having some cool action sequences or saving some people, and you do get some of that in here. And you have one wild one towards the beginning of the movie, which I'm not going to spoil for you, because just saying it's going to sound absolutely bizarre. So you need to see it firsthand. And like the whole time while it was happening, I was like, what is going on? Had DC approved this? How did they do this? But it was definitely a way out there way to help to see the Flash going out there and trying to save people in the beginning of the movie. But I like seeing his powers incorporated throughout the movie. And especially you see him evolve towards the end, towards one of the huge, bigger fight scenes. You actually get to see him do some special moves that the Flash has that we haven't got to see before, and they're awesome. And I, for one, would have liked to see more of like the Flash's universe and the Flash characters and such, because I think comic book purists are gonna be a little upset with this, because you're not getting like the Flash's rogues gallery. You're not getting a ton of like the Flash characters. A lot of it is revolved around just Barry Allen. And, you get to see his mom kind of throughout. You get to know her, and the actress that plays his mom does a great job as well. And, Ron Livingston plays his dad, which he does an all right job. But, I mean, the other characters that you follow is just like Michael Keaton's Batman and Supergirl. You don't really get to know a lot of other characters throughout the film. There are a couple like comic relief characters that are kind of sprinkled throughout, but you're really only following like 4 main characters throughout the whole movie. And especially about how they incorporate some points of like some of the parts of Flashpoint throughout the film. And they cut a lot of the big parts of Flashpoint out of it to kind of do what they want to do in their own way. So I think some comic book purists are going to have some issues with that. I, for one, I am a comic book fan, but I'm not like a picky person by any means. As long as the movie is entertaining and you get something out of it, I'm fine. I mean, and overall, I didn't think it was a bad movie at all. I think some parts are a little sloppier than others. I think that third act is definitely the sloppiest out of them all. And especially introducing the villain a little late didn't help. The story, for the most part, worked for me, because once it hits some of those heartfelt emotional moments that were tugging at heartstrings, it hit me at the right time. And like I said, a lot of it does revolve around, Barry Allen's mother, who that's the whole point of this movie, is him trying to save her, and you get to see her throughout, and all those scenes with her, it hits close to home. It hits, right in the feels. And those are some of the most effective parts for me, is those heartwarming parts. Before I get into some spoilers here, though, just for those who haven't seen it, I did enjoy it. I do recommend going out to see it. We have been waiting for a Flash movie for quite a long time, so it's actually very refreshing to get one, because the Flash is honestly one of my favorite DC characters, so it was great to actually go see him on the big screen itself. I just wish it would have been like a little bit more set within the Flash universe, and you're getting introduced to some of the Flash universe's characters instead of some of the ones we already knew. But I don't know if we will get any more going forward, or if it'll be a whole new Flash universe. Who knows? But I do recommend it. Definitely go check it out. If not, if you're a fan of Michael Keaton's Batman, definitely go check it out just to see him. I, like millions of other people, were going to see the movie just because of Michael Keaton. But I surprisingly really enjoyed the movie as a whole. And I, for one, enjoyed the character of Barry Allen and the Flash more than anything else in the movie, even more than Batman and Supergirl and such. I just really enjoyed that character. And I don't know what they're going to do going forward, but I mean, I would like to see more Barry Allen. Now, for some spoilers, I'm going to get into some of those really quick. Whenever Barry goes towards the end of the movie in that third act, and you get to see all the different kind of worlds colliding, you get the glimpses of some past iterations of superheroes. You get to see fucking Christopher Reeve's Superman and Supergirl from the 80s, together out on that building. And I know there's some people having a backlash, like, oh, they're trying to profit off of fucking Christopher Reeve's, likeness or whatever. I think they did a very good job. I don't think that they hurt the character by any means. I don't think they did him a disservice in any way. I think it was just a nice little homage to it. I think it was nice to see those characters, recognized all these years later, maybe for people that haven't seen those Christopher Reeve Superman movies or the Supergirl movie that are too young right now. Maybe this will be their introduction. But I, for one, it was awesome to see those characters out there. And it was awesome to see just that slight little glimpse of Adam West Batman in there as well, which if you haven't seen our first episode of Heroes of Our Time, go check out our review of Batman 66. It was great get to see a little glimpse of that. It wasn't near as big as the Christopher Reeve Superman cameo, but it was nice seeing that in there. And of course, I feel like the one that's going to be really talked about once this movie is out for a couple weeks or once it comes out on VOD and digital is we actually get to see Nicolas Cage's Superman come to life. I mean, we've had the documentary on it. We've heard all the stories about what the movie would have been, but we actually get to see him in action, fucking fighting that big ass like spider thing. It was really cool. It was really cool. And then he turns around with the red eyes and you get to see Nicolas Cage with the long hair and the shiny suit. It was really cool to see. I was not expecting that. I knew about the Christopher Reeve Superman cameo, but I did not know about the Nicolas Cage Superman cameo. Like I said, the end was just very somewhat sloppy. I didn't like how they incorporated the villain in like the last 20 minutes. You find out that because as they are fighting Zod's army, Michael Keaton's Batman and Supergirl keep getting killed over and over and over and over again. And you find out that this is one of those roadblocks where you're not going to be able to change anything. Like, this is just going to keep happening over and over. And young Barry just isn't getting it. He just feels like there's something that he can do, and he just keeps going back and back and back and back. And the more he comes back, he's just getting like shrapnel stuck through him. He's getting stabbed. He's getting hurt. And you find out that this weird monster that you've only seen a couple times throughout the movie is young Barry. It's Reverse Flash. It's him been doing this for who knows how long, like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. He's been doing it for so long, trying to change these events. And he drove himself mad. He ran himself mad, I guess. And he's older. He's got like gray hair. His voice is like altered. He's just, made up of just all that metal and Kryptonian metal he keeps getting stabbed with and killed with. It's a cool look. I like the visual of the villain. You just incorporated him way too late. Absolutely way too late. I feel like the Flash should have ran into him maybe once or twice before, maybe had a fight at some point or a little talking to, and you're like, oh, who is this guy? And then by the end of the movie, oh, it's young Barry. But you literally get introduced to him at the very end of the movie, and there's really no fight at all. He's going to kill the Flash, and young Barry jumps in front and sacrifices himself, which by sacrificing himself and dying, it kills the Reverse Flash and saves the day, I guess, which gives, current time Barry time to go rewrite and make everything right, rewrite history and make everything right. He was able to remove that can of tomatoes from his mom's cart, and he was able to rearrange the rack so his father could get cleared of any wrongdoing in the murder, and he wasn't able to save his mother, but he was able to save his father at least. And I like that aspect of it. I like that aspect of the story. The only part I didn't really like was just the whole redoing of the Zod fight over and over and over again. I mean, we've seen the Zod fight thing before. We've seen that in Man of Steel. We don't need to see it over and over and over again in the Flash movie. I feel like you could have done it a couple times and then went on to something else. And you definitely could have introduced that villain in a bigger capacity earlier in the movie. It's just those couple things that really, I wouldn't say hurt the movie in a way, but it definitely took some points off for me. But overall, I really enjoyed it. The last thing I really want to talk about is that fucking ending, man. I understand if they don't want to use Ezra Miller going forward anymore, but goddamn, you're going to tease us with a goddamn George Clooney cameo at the very end as Batman? Like, dude, if they find a way to somehow incorporate George Clooney, going forward, it's in some capacity within the DCU, that would be awesome. Kind of rewrite history and kind of have him be able to kind of give Batman his version of Batman justice a little bit, other than that terrible fucking Batman Robin movie from years ago. It would actually give him a chance to go out and do Batman right. So who knows? I mean, if Batman Brave and the Bold, if they decide to go with an older Batman and they use George Clooney, that would be fucking awesome. I wouldn't mind seeing George Clooney being brought back as long as they're able to do Batman right. But my guess is they will go out and recast Batman and do something else. But man, not gonna lie, that kind of made the movie for me, was to see that cameo at the end. So I was like, holy shit, no way. That blew my mind. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind maybe seeing some kind of multiverse thing where we do get to see a George Clooney Batman again. Just kind of do it right this time. But that definitely was by far the best cameo. And then you have like the after credits with him carrying a wasted Jason Momoa Aquaman out of a bar down the street, and he's laying in like that water puddle and everything. So it gives you the sense that Jason Momoa's Aquaman is the same in each universe. So that could explain how he could be going forward within James Gunn's universe. But everything else would change. So that's the thing I'm wondering, is like, is Jason Momoa going to be Aquaman and then George Clooney's going to be Batman? I don't know. There's so many questions. It's seemingly closed the book on Snyder's DCEU, other than possibly using Ezra Miller, because it seems like with rewriting history, we're not going to have Ben Affleck as Batman. We're not going to have Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Seems like we're just going to be starting over fresh going forward, which that's exactly what they want to do with the DCEU. But yeah, that is The Flash. Not much more I can really talk about without diving into the whole movie itself. But I did really enjoy the movie. I definitely recommend to go out and check it out if you haven't already. There's a lot of cool cameos, a lot of pretty cool action sequences. The CGI definitely could have been way better, but I mean, that's just such a minor nitpick at this point as far as superhero movies, because they're all so built around CG, like I said. But I'm interested to see not only what they do with the DCU going forward, but also the character of Flash and what they do with Ezra Miller going forward. For next week's episode, my buddy Quentin joined the show once again. He's been on a couple times previously. We're going to be talking about Jurassic Park for its 30th anniversary. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one of his favorite movies of all time. So, and our friendship was kind of based, as the foundation was laid around Jurassic Park. So it only made sense to bring him on here to talk about it. The episode is a little long, so I need a little extra time to go and edit it here. That's why I had to push it back a week, but be on the lookout for that one next week. But yeah, as always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Go check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Cinema Trip Reviews. Also, go check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Pretty much available everywhere, so drop in and leave us a good review there. And we'll see everybody next week.